Members, morning. Once again, we're in biology. So today our biology, A-level biology, we're going to look at what we call the endocrine system. So endocrine system, majorly you can see that we are looking at what we call the hormonal coordination. So yeah, our major debate will be on the hormones and the glands. Remember, when we are talking about endocrine system, we know that the plant glands, we have two types of glands. We have what we call the endocrine glands, and we have what we call the exocrine glands. Remember, endocrine glands, they are glands which are ductless. Don't forget that they are ductless glands. Then the exocrine glands, we said, or you know properly that those are glands with what? With the ducts. Ducts, they are only simplest. They are only tubular structures. Tubular structures through which secretion is passed. So endocrine one lack those ducts, they cells. So follow me up and then you learn more about endocrine system. The biology is not hard, very simple biology. So follow me up and then we simplify the biology. So when you are looking at now the endocrine system, our main area of concern will be on what we call the hormones. As you can look at that video which we have used from educator system, you can see that we have the hormones there, and the hormones, we can simply say that these are chemical substances which can convey information from one part of the body to another part. In simple terms, they are chemical substances which control metabolic activities in the body. You can see that mainly their communications are endocrine, different from the nervous communication. You know properly that nervous communication and endocrine communication, as you follow up that cursor, they are totally not the same. So you can see that endocrine communication is mainly via the bloodstream. And how does it reach the bloodstream, guys? Try to look at that red line which we are underlining there, that the hormones are going now to target specific cells. And this time the cells, we are calling them the target cells. This one is going to be via some specific what? Receptors. At the same time now you can see that the endocrine glands, they are producing hormones. Mainly, you find that most of the hormones produced in the body are done by the endocrine glands. Now when you look at the hormones, you can look at the hormones can be classified. As you can look at your screen, hormones can be amino acid derivatives. Take an example, the thyroid hormone. You know properly thyroid hormone, that one is arising from the thyroid gland. That one is an amino acid derivative. Then you can look at the adrenaline or the epinephrine and the dopamine. Those ones, remember the adrenaline, we shall say ahead there, that is mainly responsible for what we call emergence. Then your dopamine, the brain activities. Take an example like relaxing the brain in cases of like stress, and then other cases like love cases and so on. So another type or another class of the hormone which we can talk about, we are seeing we have peptide hormones. They have specifically shown the fish or the follicle stimulating hormone. If you follow up the cursor, the luteinizing hormone, then the thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, LH, and FSH. Remember, as you're going to discover all of those hormones, you're going to specify the law. Now we can also look at the lipid derivative hormones. Take an example, estrogen and the androgens. All those ones, we are going to see them as we are moving ahead there with our glands. Now, when we are going to understand members properly, the activity of the hormones, we have to understand what we call the negative feedback mechanism as well as the positive feedback mechanism. Now, we already in endometriosis talked about these two mechanisms. However, when you look at that one, the negative feedback mechanism which you have underlined, we can see that any increase in any component of the body is accompanied by a decrease. So when you look at the notes there on your screen, they are telling you that the build-up of the product will eventually shut off the builders. This implies that, for example, if we take the insulin, look at that insulin, if the glucose level is high, take an example after consuming a lot of sugar canes or a lot of soda and so on, it is all of the insulin Now, members, after consuming a lot of sugar cane or soda and many other sources of sugars, the sugar levels will increase. So it is the role of the insulin now to stimulate the liver cells now to lower the sugar level to the reference point or the set normal point, which we agreed normally according to the World Health Organization quotation is should be around 90 milligrams per 100 cubic centimeters of blood. If it fails, that means the person is going to become diabetic. Remember, the insulin is from the pancreas, as we shall see. Now it is going to target what we call the liver cells or the hepatocytes, which now will help in lowering the sugar level or the glucose level. Now we are seeing that it was an increase in the glucose, but again the increase in the glucose has been now counterbalanced by lowering the glucose. That is through production of what? Insulin. Insulin from where? The pancreas. Then through blood to where? To the liver. Then commanding the liver cells to reduce. And this means where there is an increase, there is a decrease. Don't forget that the sugar level, which is normal, is going to be around 90 milligrams per 100 cubic centimeters of what? Of blood. But now if it goes, the range, we are seeing the range is between 80 to 140. Now if it's going to move above like 90, now problems will arise as we are going to say there diabetes and so on. Then when you come to positive feedback mechanism, as we are seeing there, members, we discover the positive feedback mechanism. If there is an increase, the body will fight again to increase more that component. If there is a decrease, the body will fight more to decrease the component. Now when you look at that screen, they are clearly saying that now a build-up of the product further enhances the production. Yeah, for example, giving you the labor pains. Labor pains, you can see that the more the woman is going to be stressed during now labor. Labor, we are meaning a woman is going to produce, or what we are calling in production, protrusion. Now, the more the stress arises in the woman, then the more the oxytocin will be produced, which oxytocin will cause now the labor contractions. So therefore, that is an advantage. More pain, more pain. Then the more pain, more pushing, and the baby will come what? Out. So you can discover that a build-up is again being enhanced. You are building more and more higher given component. That is what we are calling the positive feedback mechanism. So as we can see that one is operating in many bodies metabolic what? Processes. Then from there now we are going to begin looking at the individual glands. We saw our beginning point. We are seeing members. We have what we call the hypothalamus. Then we are centering the brain. Like you want to see that image there. We are centering the brain. So in our brain now we are seeing that we have the hypothalamus as a small swelling now near the pituitary gland. You follow up that cursor and you see in that picture where we are seeing the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, we can say that it is mainly responsible for regulations. It regulates different body processes. You can see there that it secretes regulatory hormones. These hormones now are coordinating other biological body processes. Take an example, you can see that it produces the ADH. Remember, most books are saying that the pituitary gland is producing ADH. Remember, that is not correct biology. The best biology is that the ADH is being produced by the hypothalamus. Then again, it is stored in what we call the pituitary gland anterior lobe. So what we are saying that the first gland, members, the first gland which we are going to focus on, that is the hypothalamus, that is located now in the center of the brain. As you can follow up that cursor, you will see the point at which the hypothalamus can be traced. Now from there we are seeing that it secretes regulatory hormones mainly, and we are seeing that it produces ADH, that is antidiuretic what? Hormone vasopressin and oxytocin. Remember now always books will tell you that ADH and oxytocin are produced by pituitary gland. The pituitary gland doesn't produce them, but it's only releasing them. It is the role of the hypothalamus to produce them, but again the pituitary gland is only releasing them. So don't contradict the biology. Is that the biology is going to be that the hypothalamus is producing ADH and oxytocin, but again they are being released by the pituitary gland because they are neighboring each other. As you can look at that image, they are near each other. Then it is controlling the endocrine action of the adrenal glands via autonomic centers. We shall see adrenal glands producing adrenaline, producing aldosterone, and so on. All that work is being now coordinated by what we are calling the thalamus. Secondly, members, we can look at what we call the anterior pituitary gland. This one is producing a number of hormones, but it's also in the brain. It's the center of the brain. So you are seeing that it's producing prolactin, PRL. Prolactin means milk, and we are seeing that this one is very important. A woman is going to produce or neighboring producing, the milk must be there in the breasts to be used now for suckling the baby. That one is initiated by an hormone known as prolactin. From where? Pituitary gland. Then we are looking at corticotrophin, STH. For STH, as I'm saying, the STH is mainly now coordinating the release of particular substance or the hormones from the adrenal glands, from the cortical part of the adrenal glands. Then we have the TSH, or the thyroid stimulating hormone. This one mainly is going to now help us in the release of what we call the thyroxine hormone from the thyroid gland. Remember, thyroid gland, we are going to sit in the neck. Then gonadotrophins, these ones mainly we are seeing the testes as well as the ovaries. So these ones are also responsible for production of particular hormones, and these hormones we shall see them mainly important in reproduction. One of them, as they are showing you there, the cursor, we are seeing the fish or the follicle stimulating hormone. That one you can see that is important in the growth of the Graafian follicles. Then those ones will be like the younger eggs in the ladies, as well as now the primordial cells which are producing the sperms. So in simple terms, it is stimulating growth of now the younger cell, the younger egg cells now, which you can call the primordial cells. Then we have even what we call the luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone is mainly important for ovulation in the ladies, as well as now sperm production in the males. So take note of that as you are moving. Members, you can also see that the same pituitary gland can also produce what we call the growth hormone. Now, this growth hormone is very important in the body growth. However, if it is producing a lot, we can see that now the human being develop what we call acromegaly. Like in that photo, you can see the man is developing jaws which are giant. You can look at the head, you can look at the nose, and so on. That is what we call acromegaly. You may find even maybe the one hand is very big, another one is small. So that imbalance in the body is made now as a result of abnormal production of the growth hormone. Then from there, members, we can stretch more, like that video as stripping, and then we look at the posterior pituitary gland. Remember, all of the other hormones we have been talking about, they have been produced by the anterior side of the pituitary gland. Now we are looking at the posterior pituitary gland as one of the part which is producing the antidiuretic hormone, ADH, vasopressin. Members, don't forget under mastitis that we say that this ADH is the hormone which is balancing water, or what we are calling osmoregulation regulation. Now we are seeing that if, for example, you have less water in the body, a lot of ADH will be released. This one will take us back to urinification. Don't forget that one in the nephron. So you have less water in the body, it means now the ionic concentration, the osmotic potential now is raising. Now this implies that more water should be reabsorbed back to dilute the higher ionic concentration. And this one is going to be achieved by producing a lot of ADH, which is going to make now the renal tubules to become more permeable to water, and more water will be reabsorbed back to the body. We are seeing that the same is releasing what we call oxytocin. Remember, we say it does not produce but is releasing. Remember, we say that the hypothalamus is the one producing the ADH and oxytocin. This one is only storing and releasing. But we are seeing that now it is also releasing oxytocin. This one we can see now from Latin or from even biological dictionary. This one means now quick child birth. Oxytocin, people know Uganda is what we can call visa. This one will only stimulate now the contraction of the endometrium walls or the myometrium contracts. Contracts means they squeeze the baby, and as they are squeezing the baby will be pushed down through the cervix, then the vagina, then the vulva, then out. And from there we can also look at what we call thyroid gland. Thyroid gland, as you can see in your video there, the nose stripping, you can discover that is mainly located in the neck. There's a lot of biology about it, but our main concern is that now the hormone it is producing what we call the thyroxine hormone. Thyroxine hormone, that one is a combination of thyroglobulin as well as the iodine. So those one now the hormones are the hormone which is going to come or to be produced from the thyroid gland will be known as the thyroxine hormone. Thyroxine hormone is mainly responsible for body's metabolism. But you can see, like in the video there, follow up the cursor, we have the two types now. We have thyroxine T4 and then triiodothyroxine T3. But the difference is mainly arising in the chemistry. You can see that the first one is having 4 iodine and the second one is having the iodine ions. Now, what is the role or the roles of the thyroxine from the thyroid gland? You can see like on the screen there that one, it elevates the energy consumption. This one is mainly important for body's metabolism. To wrap up all of those ones given on the screen, it's mainly important for body's metabolism. But you can see that it increases the heart rate, the oxygen consumption. That is when you are doing activity. You are doing an activity, you need a lot of oxygen. You are doing an activity, a lot of oxygen must be taken to the parts which are active, the muscles, and how is the oxygen reaching there? That is by the blood reaching there. And who is pushing the blood? That is the pump known as the heart. Who is going to increase the rate at which the heart is beating? That is what we are calling the thyroxine now. Now, however, there are even other hormones that can increase the rate, but thyroxine is one of them. You can see that it increases the sensitivity. You can see someone is becoming hypersensitive because of the release of a lot of thyroxine. RBC formation, that properly red blood cells always arise from what we call the red bone marrows. So this one is also doing a very good deal to boost the production of RBCs. We are also seeing that it accelerates bone mineral turnover. How the minerals are being used or deposited into the bones. That is what we are calling the turnover. Now, when you look at the thyroid gland, near it we have what we call the parathyroid gland. This one is also almost producing the same as the thyroxine, but the only difference is arising at what we call the secretion of PTH, the parathyroid hormone. This one is very, very important in the balance of the calcium ions. You can see that now it is releasing the PTH or the parathyroid hormone, and now this one is important, the increase of calcium ions as you follow up the cursor in the body fluid, as well as the reabsorption of the calcium ions in the kidney. Remember the kidney, when you look at the distal convoluted tubule of the kidney floor, salts are being absorbed. So, but always our focus is on the hairpin multiplier there, but even the calcium ions also we absorbed back to the body. Now, we can also look at what we call the adrenal glands. These ones are located on top of the kidneys. Top of the kidneys, they are telling you that they are yellow, pyramidal shaped or pyramid shaped. But now our area of concern, the hormones they are producing. We are going to discover that these glands, adrenal glands on top of the kidneys, are mainly producing hormone known as now the adrenaline as well as the aldosterone. So you can look at the aldosterone produced from the zona glomerulosa. Then this one is mainly important in balancing of the salts in the body. When you go back in the metastasis, how salts are balanced, you will discover that aldosterone will be released as a result of the conversion of angiotensinogen to angiotensin. Remember, this one is controlled by the renin. We are going to see it. Renin of the kidney, not renin of the digestive system. At the same time, we are seeing that the same adrenal glands from their cortex, there is production of corticoids, like a cortisol hormone or cortisol. This cortisol hormone or cortisol is mainly important in the synthesis of glucose. We always see under homeostasis that once the sugar levels are becoming low, some of the amino acids and some of the fatty acids are going to combine in a process which we are calling the gluconeogenesis, now to produce glucose to boost up the level of sugars. Remember we said if the sugar level is low, that is a problem. Even if it is high, it's a problem. But now we are our aldosterone, so not our glucocorticoids or the cortisol or the cortisol is going to help us there to balance the sugars by raising the level. So synthesis of glucose is very, very vital in the body. Then anti-inflammatory activities. Inflammatory activities we are looking at now, process of wound healing and so on, is where we are going to apply the cortisol. Adrenogens, another type of hormones, these ones are very important in the muscle growth and the bone growth, even very, very important in children and women, but still from the adrenal glands. When we are seeing that we have the adrenomedulla, that is another side of the adrenal glands. These ones are producing adrenaline mainly. Adrenaline, this one is preparing the body for emergency. If you don't call it adrenaline, you can call it epinephrine. Then it's also producing what we call the noradrenaline. Noradrenaline is also acting in the same way almost like adrenaline, preparing the body for emergency. Like you are going to fight, you are going to, like you are fearing something, you are seeing a lion in the forest, like you are going to take a risk, take an example, say get set on your marks, your heart is going to beat very, very fast. Why? You are seeing that adrenaline is going to be produced from an adrenal medulla. How is it going to act? This one now is attached to what we call the cardiac accelerator in the medulla. So this one now will connect to what we call the sympathetic nerve, which increases the beating of the heart. Remember we say that the sympathetic nerve is attached to the pacemaker or the sun. So more firing from via the sympathetic nerve, even the pacemaker fires a lot, and the cardiac muscle will contract very, very fast. So this explains why you are seeing they are saying it increases the cardiac activity. At the same time, it increases the BP or the blood pressure. It also now increases the breakdown of the glycogen. Then it increases the sugar levels. All of those ones are preparing the body for emergency. Emergency, there are many. They can even grab and say, today you are the one who are addressing the assembly. From nowhere, the beating is going to increase. They can say, today we are going to cane you. The heart is going to beat. You can get set on your marks, like you are running in the field. Or if, for example, you hear sound of the bullet. Because all those ones are going to be now cases where the body must set itself to counterbalance the available situation. That is the emergency we are talking about. Then when you come to the kidney hormones, the kidney is also producing some hormones like the cholesterol, and this one is a COD hormone that is stimulating calcium and phosphate absorption. Now we are seeing eating food with calcium and phosphates, which are the body still need. Therefore, to economize the usage of the phosphates and the calcium, some of them must be reabsorbed back to the body. That is under the influence of that hormone. Then we are seeing that it's producing even APO, erythropoietin. This one here, guys, it is very, very important in the manufacturing of red blood cells. Red blood cells, we are always seeing that if the oxygen level is low, a lot of red blood cells must be manufactured under the influence of EPO. Take an example, when you are talking about transport, you talked about large acclimatization, like when the athletes like Kiprotich, Pusiro, and others, most of those which are winning longer marathons, they are training on the mountain to boost their red blood cell number. When you boost your red blood cell number, it implies that you are going to manufacture of red blood cells. At the same time, members, we are seeing it is producing renin. This renin not of digestion, but this one is very, very important in the stimulation of the adrenal glands to produce the aldosterone. I remember I told you this renin helps in the conversion of angiostensinogen to angiostensin, which stimulates the release of aldosterone. Aldosterone, we say that is very, very vital members in balancing salts. From there, members will also try to have a look at what we call the pancreas. The pancreas can be categorized into two. The exocrine pancreas, this one is mainly responsible for production of digestive enzymes like pancreatic amylase, then the trypsin. Those ones are mainly responsible for digestion. But we are seeing that we have what we call the endocrine pancreas. This one is mainly responsible for production of hormones, and this one is covered up inside by what we call the isohate cells of Langerhans. These cells now are very, very vital in the production of two hormones. One of the hormones is known as the insulin, then another one is known as the glucagon. Now, members, of course, we have said that insulin, we have already said that it balances the sugar levels. Take an example, you have a lot of sugars above 90 milligrams, 100 cubic centimeters of blood. We are seeing that now, you almost now, if the rate is above, for example, 90 to 140, you are going to develop diabetes. So God made the design as a supreme. He said now, you have to produce now insulin from the isohate cells of Langerhans. Then what are we seeing? The insulin travels in the blood, then it targets what we call the liver cells, the hepatocytes. These hepatocytes now are going to metabolize. They are going to end up with the metabolism of the sugar, and at the end of the day, we see the sugar level is going to lower by what we call negative feedback mechanism. How? Oxidizing them to energy and the water. Then you can see even converting some to glycogen and some to fats. At the same time, if the sugar level is low, it's the same endocrine pancreas that produces glucagon. Glucagon is also using the negative feedback mechanism for it to increase the sugar level. That is, if the sugar level is low, as you have observed under metastasis, the sugars must be raised now. From now, one way that is from the stored glycogen back to glucose. Then even we talked about the gluconeogenesis, where we are seeing the amino acids and then some fats in the presence of cortisone and then adrenaline are being driven back to glucose to boost up the glucose level, as you can see there. So you can see that the two are working oppositely. So the two are working oppositely. Glucagon is helping in increasing the sugar levels, then insulin is helping lowering the sugar levels.